Hi, Mr. MacDonald. Good to see you again.
Good morning. Yes, wonderful to be in the first city of the United States of America, Boston.
That's right. Right across the street, we got the USS Constitution right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your office right near it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got some good real estate.
Yes, that's right.
Sir.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. MacDonald, thank you for being here with us today. And it's been an honor to have you here and your family, beautiful family, over the weekend. And we're just thrilled to be able to have this conversation, which I think is part two. For those of you that don't know, Dr. Hirschberg and Mr. MacDonald had a great conversation earlier this year, and they promised one another that if fortune favored, we would have a second iteration of this. So my pleasure. My name is Mike Allard. For those of you, I think I know most of you, if not all. And we are really fortunate to have Mr. MacDonald and his beautiful family with us here today. This live podcast, I say live because we're filming it, and then obviously audio recording it, and then we will be sharing this with Home Base Nation, which, as you may know, has been our one of our voices to be able to get out our mission to heal the invisible wounds for our veterans and their families. So with that, I'll leave it to both of you and have fun with it this morning.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
Well, I want to echo what Michael said, and thank you so much for visiting, and for Mr. MacDonald's family. Hello, and thank you so much for coming up to Boston. You mentioned it was the first city on the East Coast, and I know that we now have some friends in Navajo Nation, so it's Home Base Nation to Navajo Nation.
Yes, from east to west.
Exactly. And also one thing, sir, when we talked virtually on Martin Luther King Day, I made a promise to you, and that we would hopefully meet again, but also that I would bring our own uniform, because I know I want to match your uniform that you have on right now. So this is your hat.
Okay.
There you go. And then I don't know if you've been up to Vermont, the state of Vermont. I think when I talked to your daughter, you hadn't been there. And I brought you some coffee because I know this is coffee talk.
Wow.
So that's some Vermont coffee, Green Mountain coffee.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
We can brew that later if you want and have a sip.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, sir, this is such an honor to have you here with us and to visit a place that is our home. And at Home Base, as you know, we see veterans and military families from all over the country and world now. And to have you here to show that support and talk about service and talk about mental health, and talk about that word we talked about several months ago that I'll never forget, Hojo.
Hojo, yes.
Connecting body, mind, and spirit and balance. So this is quite an honor to talk with you. On Saturday, we had the 14th annual Run to Home Base at Fenway Park, and it was incredible to see you there, right to the right of the pitcher's mound. And I know I saw you eyeing that ball, thinking about pitching it yourself, but we had to have somebody else pitch for you.
No problem.
Yeah.
It was the Marine that was doing that.
It was a Marine? Good. Okay. So I noticed that there were so many different uniforms, from white to black and every color in between. And I thought of something there at Fenway Park that was, as you know, is one of the oldest park, I believe. I'm getting the nod from the general, in 1912. And there was a lot of history in that park in many ways. And I noticed those colors, and I thought about your uniform, and I thought about you as a young boy and what drove you to service. And I also thought that there's probably something more than the uniform
Yes.
that brought you to service as well. And I thought maybe you could reflect on that with us today.
Well, first of all, during the war, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the all of us, Native Americans and all Americans, no matter what nationality they belong to, all come together. We all did. And to preserve what we believe is our country. And over 500 Native Americans, every tribe made the contribution by letting their young men and women go into military or defense plants to make sure that we preserve that freedom, liberty, and peace that we all enjoy here in America. The only country in the entire world especially blessed by the Great Spirit. And that's why I, I know what you mean about all of us coming together,
Yeah.
making that possible to keep that liberty, freedom, and peace that we all enjoy here in America.
Yeah, and we saw it right there in that park. And when you signed up, it was a few years ago, and I wonder if you could reflect on what that meant to you when you started going into Marine training when you went to San Diego.
Yes, well, uh, I joined United States Marine Corps at age 15. And I look at my grandkids and my own kids, and when they're 15, and I said, did I really join the United States Marine Corps at that age? And yes, I did. And how this happened is very strange. A cousin of mine, who is at least 3 years older than I am, we all live in the same area. And back in those days, we were pretty much self-sufficient. We didn't need the federal government. We didn't need tribal government. We didn't need any government. We had a lot of livestock, hundreds of cattle, horses, thousands of sheep. We have farm. We didn't need anybody. We didn't need any law. We didn't know had no policemen, no jails, no judge, no courts. Nothing, because everyone behaved according to what we were told growing up. You should do this, you shouldn't do this. This is what everything means to you. The trees, the birds, the four-legged ones, everything has a place for us to enjoy. So we were all happy. And of course, December 7th, a bomb was dropped on Pearl Harbor, and our country now has been attacked. And every member of the American Indian tribe, over 500 of us tribes, joined to defend this land, our Mother Earth. And the Mother Earth means so much to us, like a mother to a young child. It takes care of us. It feeds us. It prolongs our life. And we also learn everything, our belief, our things that we cherish most, our prayers, our songs, everything comes from Mother Earth. So we respect it very much. And when we learn that our land is in danger, everyone responded. And many of us joined the United States military. A cousin of mine who is at least 3 years older than I was, one day came home wearing that beautiful blue Marine Corps uniform. Of course, I didn't know there was a Marine Corps uniform, but when he came home, I saw him in that uniform, and I said, Tom, how do I get one of those nice clothes you're wearing? I thought maybe he purchased it somewhere. But he says, you have to join the United States Marine Corps to get one of these. And I said, I want to do that. Of course, he looks at me and says, how old are you? I say, I'm 15. He said, you can't do that. You got to be at least 17. I said, they don't know. I said, but, if you can join the United States Marine Corps, I can too, because I can shoot birds, prairie dogs, rabbits just as well as you can. Also, I can run just as fast as you can. 2 or 3 times I beat you running. You know that. So I could do anything you could do, and if you can join the United States Marine Corps, I can too. At age 15. Well, it says that's the law. Got to be 17 in order to join. So if you're going to join, you got to tell me you're 17 years old. Well, before he went back to his unit from his furlough, we went to Farmington, New Mexico, Marine Corps recruiting office. And there, I asked a recruiter to join Marine. He looks at me and asks, how old are you? I said, I'm 17. And he said, where's your birth certificate? I said, I don't have one. My mother said when we were moving our livestock from winter camp to summer camp, right through that journey, she got into labor. So we had to stop, and they laid down a goat skin, and she said, you fell out on that goat skin. And that's how you're born, right through our movement. 2 days later, they pack up again and end up at our summer camp. So I said, I have no birth certificate. I was born out in the boondocks. Well, they said, well, somebody has to vouch for you. I said, here's my cousin, Tom. He knows. So they made him sign a piece of paper that said I was 17 years old. That's how I joined the United States Marine Corps.
So Tom knew you pretty well. He knew that you were both going to be serving together.
Yes, well, the sad part of the whole story is, which I cannot forget, is that on his third landing was Peleliu, September 15, 8:30 in the morning, 1st Marine Division, which he was in that. Usually there's about 80 Navajo code talkers assigned to each division.
Right.
And his group was with the 1st Marine Division. And every landing, they always had at least a dozen Navajo code talkers to land with the first wave, the first ones to hit the beach. There's a reason for that. We didn't know, but we understood what they wanted. They gave us a map of the landing area to be memorized. It has grid lines. So they tell us, when you hit the beach, run like hell, hit the deck, and see where these enemy fires are coming from, the gun location. Look at your map, send that location back to the command ship in Navajo code. And then, of course, command ship also has about half a dozen code talkers in that battleship, the command ship. And they receive all Navajo messages. They write it down. Navy sends us runner to stand behind us. We hand it to them. They take it to the general or the admiral. They read it, they respond. What they want us to report back with the first wave is where the enemy gun positions are. If you send that position in English code, they brick just like that, and they move their gun position. So by the time you get a battleship, a Marine airwing to knock off that particular gun position, they move. So using Navajo code to identify where these gun positions are, they don't know that they're being targeted. So it gives us time to order either a battleship, a cruiser, or a Marine airwing to knock out that gun position.
Right.
And that's part of the reason. The other reason is the troop movements. We want to keep that confidential. Also, the enemy, the gun, not only gun position, but how much ammunition we have. Well, we learn all we have is what we have on our belt and in our rifle. That doesn't last very long. So the ammunition ship comes about the second or the third wave, and they dump more ammunition on the beach for us. Sometimes they get blown up, so you're sitting there with no ammunition. It's just what you got. You don't want the enemy to know that you don't have ammunition. So all of that kind of information goes back to the command ship in Navajo code, and they bring in another shipload of ammunition.
I wonder, Mr. MacDonald, if we could talk about that code a little bit.
Yes.
Now that it's after 1968, we could talk more freely. Now, I did a little homework, and the code coming from the islands in English translated to Navajo code and then back to English. I wondered if we could give an example on how that works.
Yes.
There was an island, Tarawa, and I'm not going to do justice in the Navajo, but I thought maybe you can help me with this.
Okay.
So I know that each letter, A, B, C, had a certain Navajo word that would correspond to that letter. But you also needed to have different Navajo words for the same letter, as to not have anyone break the code. And I should mention, if people may not know this, but it's the only code in military history to have never been broken. And the island of Tarawa has Tarawa. Now in English, that's turkey, ant, rabbit, back to ant, weasel, and ant. I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about how that works with Navajo code.
Well, the code that we developed, not even in Navajo would understand what in the world we're talking about.
Right.
Number one, Navajo is not a written language, so we had to create code words for each letters of the English alphabet, which only we know. Navajos out on the reservation don't know that because we don't have a written language, so no one knows what the code word is for, or even a word for letter A. So we created it, and they told us also that enemy has many different ways of breaking codes. One of them is repetition. There are quite a few English words that have two A's or two C's or even maybe three S's. So that means they use repetition to break code. So that means we had to have at least 3 code words for each letters of the English alphabet memorized. So in that Tarawa, the word Tarawa has 3 A's in it. And the first, of course, the T would be, the code word for letter T is Tanji, turkey. The word for A is Belasana. Belasana in Navajo means apple. Then the
Amchi.
letter R is Ga. Ga. Navajo means rabbit. So when you hear rabbit coming through the air, you don't think about it. You don't write down rabbit. You write down the letter R. Then the next code, the next word in that Tarawa is another A. You don't say Belasana, which is apple. You say it at that point, Tennit. Tennit in Navajo means X, something you chop wood with. So, but it's still an A. Then you Traw. Well, that was that's weasel. That's code word for the letter A. Then you come with another A. That would be, you don't say Belasana or Tsennet, you say Willachi. Willachi in Navajo means ant, A-N-T. So all the three letters in A in that word have different words. So the enemy don't realize that these are the same letters.
And the enemy certainly won't know that someone's trying to explain Tarawa or any place or time. I'll never forget the time you mentioned that sick horse meant hill, and someone was on a communication saying that somebody would be on a hill. And well, thank you for going through that example with us. You know, the Marine at Iwo Jima, Major Howard Connor said that the Marines would never have succeeded without the Navajo. That's powerful.
It is, and they tell it. Well, 3 Marines Division landed on Iwo Jima. As I said before, each Marine Division is assigned 80 Navajo code talkers to provide all communications that is top secret and confidential. And we handle all those messages. So these 80 in each division, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So you're talking about over 200 Navajo code talkers participating on Iwo Jima landing to communicate all top secret confidential messages. And they tell us that each unit, each division, at least on average, we're sending at least 800 messages for the first 48 hours of the landing. 800 times 3 is over 2,000 Navajo coded messages sent in the first 48 hours. If you do little math, that means Navajo code going through the air every minute, nonstop for 48 hours. What
Amazing.
busy operation.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's probably why Major Connor said, without Navajo, Marines would never have taken the island of Iwo Jima.
You know, you talk about the magnitude of those messages. Here I am thinking about text messages these days, and I'm thinking about that for those 48 hours, and the concentration, the memory, the focus that someone had to have as a Navajo code talker during that time is extraordinary. So yes, you signed up, and many of your brothers and Tom. I was sorry to hear about Tom, and I'm very sorry for that. The memory that someone needs to have. I wonder if we could talk about that, and also how that connects to our brains and mental health. Tell me a little bit about what that was like, and thinking about that stress people were under.
Well, growing up Navajo, this is every member of Navajo back in 1800, early 1900. I was born 1928, and that whole system was still very much in place. The system is that every child, Navajo child, every hokan, every home across the nation have a story that is being told about where we came from, the four worlds that we come through, the first, second, third, fourth world, the present world we're in, and what we experience. From the time you're at least 4 years old, you're being told a short story about where we came from, how we were created, and what it means, how certain things were created. And as you get older, the story becomes longer and longer and longer. By the time you're 12 years old, you are now being told a story that's at least 2 or 3 days long. Songs that goes with it, the prayers that goes with it, what the mountain means, what it represents, eastern mountain, the southern mountain, the western mountains and northern mountains, what they represent, what they produce that's good for us, and how we can harvest things that grow in these mountains. Everybody learns that. Also, there are songs that goes with each mountain. We learn those songs. We don't have a book. Everything we learn is here, and we're tested. When they tell us a story, they tell us to repeat that story in the same order, using the same word. You don't add words to it, because this song, this prayer is sacred. It has to go in the same order, the same word. You don't make up your own words. You don't leave out one or two. It's got to be the same. So we keep memorizing all of that, and they test us as we get older. By the time you're 12 years old, you have a lot of memory about where you came from, what the Eastern Mountain represent, what can be harvested there, what songs, what prayers that goes with that song, with that mountain rather, Southern Mountain, Western, and Northern. So we had a very, very good memory being tested that way. Today, it's a lot different. I asked my grandkids, hey, what's the capital of the state of New Mexico? Well, give me time. They get their phone and they Google it and they tell me what that is. They don't memorize things anymore. The phone is their memory.
The pros and cons of technology, yeah.
So if it was today, I don't think we could have created a code that was never broken by an enemy. And not only that, but you got to remember those code words no matter where you are. You may be down in a foxhole with machine gun bullets flying 5 or 10 inches over your head, mortar shells dropping everywhere. You still have to send that code and receive that code.
Yeah. No pressure, right?
Right. Well,
how can I ask you, sir, when you reflect on our soldiers, our men and women who are overseas and have returned, and the stress that they endure, that they can endure, and then transitioning back home. What are some of your thoughts about that transition back to home and how we can take care of ourselves?
well, again, those kinds of things are in our stories. There have been battles in their creation, and we had twin warriors that went to visit the sun to get the power they need, all memorized, came back to earth and used that weapon that was given to them to clean up all the bad things that was cropping up. So it's something that we understand. If you go into a battle, of any kind of battle, no matter what it is, there are songs and prayers that you participate in to save your memory, forget things that badly that happened to you, restore your entire body from the tip of your toes to the top of your head, so that you no longer are now being affected by the evil things that you have went through, the battle that you went through, the blood you have seen, the dead bodies you have seen. All of that bad memory can be taken away out of your system and back into a harmonious journey as you were intended by the Great Spirit. So we have songs, we have ceremonies, we have one called Nta, which is a 3-day ceremony that if you go into war in the battle, whether it was a battle against a different enemy or whatever, you come home, you don't just come on in because you're contaminated. And you're contaminated, so you stop maybe half a mile from home, and there the medicine man says a prayer and administers certain pollen on your body. Then you can come in back into your home, and then you don't stay that way. They arrange a ceremony, a 3-day ceremony, to restore your good body, good mind, and get rid of all the bad stuff that you went through. That's a notch. That's what the Navajo called the enemy way ceremony. And then, of course, you don't do it just once, at least 4 times. Then you forget about it. You don't dream about it anymore. You're back to being normal.
There's a system of 4.
Yes, that's what most Navajo veterans have gone through that. Because some of them came home and it affects them terribly. So they eventually have this ceremony.
You've known some brothers and sisters that have gone to war and come back, and a half mile away went through the process with the medicine man, and you've known them after that process, and you've seen changes, I would assume.
Absolutely. I had ceremony myself when I came home because I believe it.
Yeah.
And it does help.
Thank you for telling us that. That's it's so important that we, I'm thinking about the word harmonious that you just mentioned, and back to Hojo.
Yes.
My favorite concept. Because it at home base, this facility, our center, we think about, as General Hammond, our executive director, talks about body, mind, and soul, and keeping that rhythm, making sure that you can, in all ways, help yourself as a veteran and your family through not just thinking about the brain, not just thinking about the body, but what's your purpose and what resonates with your soul. But there's another part too, when I think about Hojo, is the universe and earth and that balance. And maybe as we close, we can hear you reflect on that a little bit, as we think about how we connect to, we all connect to each other and to the earth and this whole planet that is very precious to us all.
Well, after this in-me-way ceremony that before you come back in, they perform that for you, that gets rid of it. But then you have another ceremony, as Hojronja, the beauty way, harmonious. You get back in harmony with your people, with your land, with your environment. Hojronja, that represents a beauty way. It's something that it gives you a good vision and a good understanding of who you are and what you are here for. So that's a harmonious way of living on this earth, Hojronja. And that ceremony is still in existence today. And it doesn't, you don't have to be in war to have that ceremony. If you have some bad experience somehow, if you want to get back in harmonious journey with all the good things, you have Hojronja ceremony, the beauty way ceremony. Every young lady, when they become of age, around 12 or 13 years old, every one of them have Hojronja ceremony to be blessed in the most beautiful way for the rest of their life. And most everybody who want to be blessed with all the blessings she's going to receive, come to her ceremony and participate, take the corn pollen and get the cake that they make for her. Everybody have a piece of that cake. Now that makes you strong. They want you to face the world with good thoughts, good things coming to you. I remember being a small kid, we get up in the morning with those, face the dawn, and the songs that comes from that, medicine man singing, all of us singing with him, saying, every bit of ray that comes from the dawn, that brings forth all good things, the best thing in the world for human beings, for the world, for everything. Every bit of it, every pollen of that has now come unto my hand. It's in my hands now. And not only in my hand, but it has got into my blood vessels and it comes into my body. It's over my body now. I have all of it. I have nothing to fear. I have every good reason to live a good life today and the rest of my life. That's the kind of prayer that we used to say every morning, and especially during the time when this young lady is going through puberty ceremony.
That's a song of prayers of strength and community, and it really is beautiful. And I think we can all relate with that, and seeing how we, what makes us all lucky to be here, and it's partly or a lot thanks to people like you that have served, that make this country the way it is, and allow us to have that freedom. And we want to thank you for all of your service. I know that as a Navajo chairman 4 times, Navajo Nation chairman, someone who's a Marine veteran, and such a family man that has his amazing family here, and including your grandkids. I wonder if you could offer some thoughts to that young generation, and stop there.
Yeah, well, I tell my kids, my grandkids, and Navajo young people that the best way to face life is 3 things. Number 1, to understand that you are the earth, the world, isn't all what we think it is. Therefore, you need to understand. You got to have knowledge. Get good knowledge. Navajo word for that is ntsinikens. Think, get knowledge. That means get understanding of how things were created, how they work, how it must be used, how to look at things, how to respect things. Knowledge, get knowledge. Ntsinikens. The second thing they tell us, which I remembered and I tell that to my kids too, is to be wise. Honiya, that means be wise, be smart. Why? Because you got to know the difference between what is good and what is bad. You got to know that. You got to know what's not good for you. You know what is good for you, what's good for the world and what's not good for the world. You got to be wise and know the difference between what is good and what is bad. Third thing is to be strong. Not only strong in the muscles, but have a strong mind. Because there's a lot of things you're going to face in this world that you're going to have to rise up to it and defend yourself or defend your family, defend your country. Be strong, not just mentally, but physically as well, to be strong. Not only physically, but spiritually. You got to have a prayer in your heart. You got to know the songs. You got to know the prayer that's going to keep you going no matter what kind of a situation you face. Those are the three things that I tell young people, my grandchildren, my children. Why? Get knowledge, get an education. Be wise, know the difference between what is good and what is bad. Thirdly, be strong, not just muscle, but be strong. Don't get mad at something that you shouldn't be mad about. Learn from it and do what you know what is the right thing to do. That's what I think our young people need to know.
Well, I'm not only gonna text my kids that. I'm gonna call them after this, and we're gonna have a conversation.
Yeah, ask them what is the capital of Navajo Nation.
Yeah, right.
But I want to say this, though, that you know what home base is doing today is what I believe all of us should be doing, because it means a lot in so many different ways to express our love and care. It's not the bullets or the guns that wins war, but it's the people like yourselves out there, mother and father, brothers and sisters, everybody, leaders of this nation, leaders of states, counties, all, even the children, all of us together should be a home base for protecting what we all cherish today, our freedom and our liberty, as well as the peace that we all enjoy here in this great country of ours. And I certainly believe very strongly that every 500 member tribes in the United States know this, because this is our home. This is our land for thousands of years. And we don't want anyone else to destroy the freedom, the liberty, and the peace that we have been blessed with. So it doesn't take guns and all that modern equipment that we are designing to maintain peace. It takes people like yourselves out there, mothers and fathers, grandpa, grandma, children, everybody. Of course, those who volunteer, put their lives on the line to help preserve what we cherish so much in this country. And I know that you folks, home base people, are spreading that word. Navajo code, they tell us, is the only military code never broken by an enemy in modern history. Likewise, I pray that what home base is doing, what you folks are doing, the love we all have for this great country of ours will never be broken. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We would like to present you General Hammond and Michael Allard, our fearless leaders at home base. Speaking of home base.
And at home base, sir, we are a family affair. So Hope and Clayton, could I ask you to come join us as well? We would like to also confer upon you our official home base coin. You honor us. You continue to teach us what it means to be grateful and to give back. So on behalf of all of us at home base, thank you for what you've done to make this journey and to continue to carry on the importance of giving back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, is there a word you could use in Navajo for home base? How would we describe home base in Navajo?
Yes, what's that?
How would we describe home base in Navajo?
Home base.
In Navajo.
Ho wante kiss, ho wante nansa. Home base.
We're gonna have to get that from you.
We'll be working on it.
Great. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.